Good evening, 6 p.m. here in Cairo. Welcome to Channel 2's news. Here are the main headlines of this evening. President El-Sisi receives CEO of the World Bank and Guinea's foreign minister. Prime Minister Madbouli discusses national plan to support pharmaceutical industry. And monster storm Dorian hovers over the Bahamas. Welcome back. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said Egypt is keenly interested in continuous consultations with leaders of international financing institutions, hailing their role as strategic partners in achieving sustainable development. The remarks were made at a meeting the president held with visiting Chief Executive Officer of the World Bank, Kristalina Georgieva, and the Bulgarian economist who is seeking the post of the IMF director. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassam Radi said President El-Sisi praised fruitful cooperation between the bank and Egypt during the presidency, given her international economic expertise and her understanding of challenges facing developing countries and priorities needed for achieving sustainable development. The spokesman pointed out that her choice of Egypt for launching her foreign trip to drum up support for her IMF presidency bid is a testament for her appreciation for Egypt's economic drive. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi asserted that Egypt attaches great importance to the efforts of keeping peace and achieving stability in the Black Continent, adding that Egypt is actively engaged in those efforts by ensuring participation in the majority of UN peacekeeping missions in the continent or through its current chairmanship of the African Union. This came as President el-Sisi met with the Guinean Foreign Minister Mahmedi Touré. Presidential spokesperson Ambassador Bassam Radi said that President el-Sisi conveyed his greetings to the Guinean President Alpha Condé, hailing the growing momentum that they have witnessed through bilateral relations since his latest visit to Conakry last April. The head of the state said that he is looking forward to boosting bilateral cooperation. President el-Sisi also hailed the holding of the 6th Joint Committee and the signing of a number of agreements in the fields of electricity, water, maritime, transportation, environment and antiquities. The president stressed on the importance of holding the committees on a regular periodic time as a considered main mechanism for promoting various aspects of cooperation. The Guinean minister expressed in return his appreciation to Egypt's leadership and people, hailing the effective Egyptian role in the African arena in light of its presidency of the African Union. The 6 joint Egyptian-Guinean committees wrapped up today by signing a number of agreements and memorandums of understandings. The meeting of the committee were held with the participation of the 2 foreign ministers of the 2 countries, as well as the Minister of Antiquities and Minister of Environment at the ministry headquarters. Earlier, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry met with the Guinean counterpart, and the 2 ministers discussed bilateral relations and a number of issues of mutual concern. In a press conference following the meeting, Sameh Shoukry and his Guinean counterpart highlighted their deep ties between the 2 countries in various fields. Egypt's top diplomats stressed the keenness of President el-Sisi and his Guinean counterpart to push forward bilateral relations, as well as the joint efforts to support Africa and to reach settlements to the issues facing the continent. Both foreign ministers described their talks as fruitful, saying the discussions tackled all issues of mutual concern, as well as the international issues and efforts exerted to combat terrorism.
Egypt opens up to the world. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi meets with world leaders.
أعبر لكم عن خالص الشكر والتقدير على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة.
Reaffirming Egypt's vision, delivering our voice abroad.
لتطوير التعاون الثنائي الاقتصادي والعسكري إلى مستويات غير مسبوقة.
Discussing regional and international developments. solid and strong relations on the path of partnership and development.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli reiterated that the government is paying great attention to the file of pharmaceutics and is adopting a national plan to support and encourage the pharmaceutical industry. During a meeting to follow up on the manufacturing and exporting the Egyptian medicine, the Prime Minister stressed the importance of making use of the available opportunities to develop such vital sector, especially that the Egyptian medicine is of good quality and competitive price, which enables it to access the global pharmaceutical markets. For her part, the Minister of Health has reviewed during the meeting the main features of the national plan and also tackled the challenges facing expanding the Egyptian medicine exports. In a separate meeting, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said the government is seeking to accelerate and ease customs clearance procedures in a bid to enhance the export-import industry. The meeting, that was attended by both Ministers of Finance and Industry, reviewed several proposals for upgrading good clearances procedures at ports. An analytical study that was presented by the Finance Minister Mohammed Maid at the meeting focused on upgrading clearance services provided by the Customs Department in order to enhance the competitiveness of the Egyptian ports on both regional and international levels. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli today met with the visiting Chief Executive Officer of the World Bank, who is also a candidate for the International Monetary Fund Director post. The Bulgarian World Bank said it looks forward to Egypt's support for its bid for the IMF post, given the distinguished relations between Egypt and Bulgaria. The spokesman for the cabinet, Councillor Nader Saad, said the Bulgarian candidate congratulated the Prime Minister for the government's successful economic forum program, saying Egypt has become a model for economic reform that is often cited by the World Bank and the IMF experts. The Arab League today criticized the U.S. administration bias to Israeli occupation and its attempts to end the important roles played by the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, over 71 years. The remarks were made at an emergency meeting of the supervisors of Palestinian affairs in Arab countries hosting refugees that was held at the Arab League's headquarters in Cairo. The meeting discusses the renewal of UNRWA mandate as a vote over the renewal is expected in the near future amid U.S.-Israeli attempt to annul or change UNRWA's mandates, and in the meeting it includes a discussion of financial crisis for the UNRWA, the expurgated after the U.S. ended its funding for the agency in 2018. Saudi Arabia has deployed more troops in southern Yemen to try to contain clashes between the nominal allies in the Saudi-led military coalition fighting the Houthis that focused around the port of Aden. This comes as Riyadh calls for talks to resolve the crises and refocus on the coalition on battling the Iranian-backed Houthis. Meanwhile, coalition spokesman Colonel Turki al-Malki had said the coalition was unaware that prisoners were held at a Houthi base it targeted with deadly airstrikes on Saturday. He added that the Houthis bear full responsibility for making this base a location for Yemeni citizens who have been forcibly disappeared. The spokesman of the Iranian Atomic Energy Agency said today Iran is capable of resuming production of 20% enriched uranium within 2 days. The announcement comes following threats by Iranian President Hassan Rouhani of further cutting Iran's commitments to an international nuclear deal within days. In an address to Parliament, Rouhani ruled out holding any bilateral talks with the United States, saying any dialogue with the U.S. would have to fall within the framework of the group of major powers that have agreed on the landmark nuclear deal with Iran in 2015. An alliance of British opposition lawmakers and rebels in ruling Conservative Party will use Parliament's first day back from its summer break today to launch their attempt to block a dreadful no-deal exit from the EU. In his pursuit for such a Brexit, Prime Minister Boris Johnson implicitly warned lawmakers on Monday that he would seek a snap election if they tied his hands, ruling out seeking a further delay to Brexit, which is scheduled for October 31st. The European Commission said such a no-deal Brexit was a very distinct possibility, and the French Foreign Minister said that it was the most likely to be scenario. Monster storm Dorian hovered over the Bahamas as surging sea waters and fiercest winds sowed chaos in low-lying island communities, killing at least 5 people and spurring mass evacuations on the U.S. East Coast. The Bahamas Prime Minister Hubbard Menes termed the hurricane as a historic tragedy for this disaster. More details in this report.
The slow-moving Hurricane Dorian, one of the most powerful Atlantic hurricanes on record, pounded Grand Bahama Island today and was forecast to come dangerously close to Florida's coast by the day's end. Dorian has been pounding the Bahamas for days, killing at least 5 people in the Abaco Islands in the northern Bahamas and inundating homes with flood water ahead of its expected advance on the U.S. coast, where more than 1 million people have been ordered evacuated. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said the hurricane weakened to a Category 3 on the 5-step Saffir-Simpson wind scale early today, with maximum sustained winds of 120 miles per hour. It was moving northwest at 1 mile per hour, well below walking speed. The exact toll of the devastation in the Bahamas will not be clear until the storm passes and rescue crews can get on the ground. Bahamian Prime Minister Hubert Minnis said that the U.S. Coast Guard was on the ground and had rescued a number of injured individuals. Critically injured people were being taken to hospitals on New Providence, the county's most populous island. The International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Society said that as many as 13,000 homes in the Bahamas may have been destroyed or severely damaged.
Moving on to the business news, and we start with the Egypt stock market. The bourse indices collectively declined during today's trade session, affected by local and Arab settling operations. Benchmark index EGX30 lost 0.5% to close at 15,028 points. Capped EGX30 index also retreated by 0.5%. Medium capped index EGX70 and broader index also dropped 0.2% and 0.3% respectively. China said it had lodged a complaint against the United States with the World Trade Organization 1 day after new tariffs have been imposed by Washington on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, which came into force. The world's 2 biggest economies have been embroiled in a bruising year-long trade war, which escalated further on Sunday when Washington moved ahead with fresh levy hikes, which Beijing had promised to match. Beijing's Commerce Ministry said that these American tariffs seriously violate the consensus reached by the leaders of the 2 countries in Osaka, referring to trade discussions in the Japanese city in June. Oil prices were dented by trade war concerns after the United States began imposing 15% tariffs on a variety of Chinese goods. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude lost $54.84 a barrel, and international benchmark Brent futures dipped $58.63 per barrel. And in the currencies market, the euro plunged to a 28-month low against the dollar today as investors priced in deeper negative interest rates for longer in the Eurozone. The euro was down at $1.0936 and the dollar was at 106.2 yen.